right. So, Roman, Afshin, thank you very much for inviting me here in Aachen, my old hometown, so to speak. To Wolfgang and talk about energy storage. Before we jump into today's topic and the innovation Wolfgang provides, how did you find into the field of batteries? Who wants to start?
Do you want to start?
Sure, it's actually almost the same story how we got into both the same way, because we actually bought a camper van. Or we know each other actually pretty long. So for the first semester here in Aachen, we know each other, and at the fifth semester we said, all right, we want to buy a camper van together. So both of us and a few other people, like all overall 8 people, we bought a camper van together, like this one almost, and then we put a PV system on top of that. And then we looked actually for a battery back to the days. And
Okay.
like everything, we looked at eBay Kleinanzeigen for a battery, so which is like Craigslist internationally from the look. And there we looked for batteries, normally new batteries, but then we saw a lot of like old Tesla batteries, and we thought, all right, what happened here? Why is there old Tesla batteries at eBay Kleinanzeigen? So it was the first touch point that we saw. All right, there are cheap batteries from the idea of Second Life in the field of selling. And so we said, all right, what's actually happening with them? And so afterwards we didn't buy a battery for the camper van because it didn't fit at all. We bought a different one, but it started the idea. So
Yeah.
what is actually happening with all the old EV batteries? And that's actually how we came the first time. And then after university, after the master degree, we said, all right, we want to go actually in that field. And then we started with Wolfgang after the university. You have to add something, or
Basically the same story. So yeah, went all the way through Rome and founded Wolfgang 5 years ago after our master studies. And that was the initial point when we started going into the battery space.
And I think it really started in someone's basement, right? I remember the presentation that you gave when I had the lecture at RWTH, this E-Mobility lecture series. And you were a guest lecturer at one series there, or one episode there. You showed some pictures, like really how you started. It was quite impressive. Remembering those pictures back then, and now seeing like where we are, having toured the facility today, and also seeing all the expansion capabilities. I mean, there's quite some 1,000 square meters where you can really produce big battery towers.
Yeah, it started actually all in the basement of my dad. So that was the starting point, because he has like a metal company, a very small one, and so we kind of got the first C&I battery storage to his house, and
Cool.
it developed quite well over the time.
So coming to the key innovation now, why is Wolfgang there? Like, which problem are you solving? What is the key innovation that you provide? If you would give the elevator pitch again.
Sure. So the key of Wolfgang was actually producing batteries. So that's like the root of Wolfgang, how we started producing Second Life batteries, now made up for new life batteries, so overproduction. So we use a lot of batteries which are not from Second Life, but from overproduction facilities afterwards. But after a while, we noticed it's not just the core of Wolfgang, not just the producing, but everything around it. So how is the battery treated? How is the battery? How we can push the battery into the market? Because the goal of Wolfgang and the vision and mission is to keep batteries into the system and to push it into the market. And therefore, we said, all right, we need to sell the battery in first hand. So actually, what is a customer? Why he doesn't want to have a battery? He wants to buy a battery not because he wants a battery. He actually wants to cut energy prices with that. So the customer doesn't know how expensive is the battery and how big should be the battery. So we actually start with a analysis of the customer, how big should be the battery, which power output should it have. So that's the beginning. Then we do the operation and maintenance with the customer. So after installing it, because we noticed, okay, nobody can install the battery, so we install also the battery. Then we do the operation, and then we do the maintenance afterwards. So it's actually the whole value chain of Wolfgang, where we said, all right, it's not just the producing, but everything which comes with it.
So battery as a service, it's like the complete value chain, basically.
Yes, turnkey solution actually, and our vision is to bring batteries into the market and into the field as soon as possible to really make the renewable transition possible. And for that you need to have the whole value chain.
So there are a couple of points that are unique about Boltfang. First off, and this is what you were initially known for, is that you are building upon second life batteries. And when you just elaborate that, it from there on really took off, and you now cover many different fields. So let's pinpoint a couple of those and maybe start off with a physical part. So the battery storage devices. I mean, you have different products in your portfolio right now. Can you just give us a little overview of what is the innovation there and how important is still the second life aspect to them?
Yes, as you already mentioned, we had a production factory tour already today, so that's where the battery storage systems are built. And as Roman already said, we started off with second life batteries that we got from the market, and then talking actually and contracting with the big automotive factories around Germany and Europe, we found out that there's not only the possibility of second life batteries. This volume is increasing year by year, but also a large amount of overproduction batteries or production batteries that are having smaller quality issues, so they're not going into automotive area because of a small scratch or something, but we could use them for a stationary application. And this one is actually so huge. If you just see the production output of the automotive sector, even a small tiny bit of misalignment there can bring out huge amounts of batteries in stock. So we actually went into contracts about second use batteries, so more or less unused batteries, brand new, but stored too long at the OEM. And that's what we integrated into our two product lines now. The first one is a C&I product, commercial industrial product, which we use for products starting from like 100 kilowatt hour up to 1 megawatt hour. And then we have our grid scale product line, which is really a containerized version starting from 5 megawatt hour. And the key innovation there is, of course, integrating automotive batteries and being flexible to integrate different battery modules, having the full requalification process. So which batteries can you actually use in the second application, and how can you put them together to get the maximum output and the maximum capacity? And that's where our innovation lies. So really a fast, flexible, and cost-efficient system integration and the requalification of the batteries.
Yeah, and I think what it also is really worth to mention is that you're also dealing with less complexity in comparison to other battery system manufacturers, because you're building upon automotive grade battery modules, right? I mean, yeah, they are second life, but let's be fair, like they have a certain level of quality, and you do the testing, as I saw in your factory. So you're building upon a system that is already quite elaborated and has high performance. So I totally get that. So that is the physical side. But you now said like you're also going into the service side more and more, because you see that the need, in order to bring those batteries to market, you need to help your customer, right? So can you explain this transition from the innovation standpoint and the product you offer, the service you offer, but also from the entrepreneurial point? That's really interesting. Like, when did you notice it, and how did you step into this game? Because it's a completely different set of competencies that you need, right? I mean, for one, this is software, but also like the contracts and regulations and everything that goes along with it. So maybe you can take us with you on this journey.
Sure. You pretty good see it actually on the utility scale market, where we entered like 1.5 years ago. That we said, all right, not just the C&I market is interesting, but the utility scale market. At the beginning, we said, all right, we want to sell the battery like in a normal case. But after a while, we noticed, no, nobody wants to have the battery because they don't know how to integrate the battery, how to do the EPC work and everything. Besides, is how is the work financing?
EPC, can you just for the listener explain?
Engineering, procurement, and construction.
Okay.
So like not just like delivering the battery, but installing the battery all overall. So they want to have installed battery, but they also want to have a financing with it, and they also want to have some other things like O&M contracts with it, because most of the people don't know how to install the battery, don't know how to monitor the battery. And then we said, all right, we don't just don't want to give the customer the battery. We said, all right, we do everything what they need to actually get back to the core, to actually produce our batteries again and sell our batteries again. And therefore, we said, all right, for instance, like in the last financing round, we got Deutsche Leasing, which is one of the biggest German banks and rental services in Germany, into the round, just because of the reason, because we said, all right, we want to offer the customer a battery in the financing module as well, and get the financing of big utility scale batteries. And that's the thinking what we have to say, all right, when we see there is a problem with the customer and the customer has a different challenge, then we want to solve that one in that case. That was, for instance, on the utility scale. On the C&I market, we noticed it extremely for the energy management system, that we said, all right, the customer wants, of course, to have a battery, but they actually want to cut energy prices. And how can you cut energy prices the most? When you integrate the battery with a good energy management system, when you say, all right, for instance, 1 year ago, we said we integrate flexible energy tariffs with it, so dynamic tariffs, to get even more out of the battery during winter time, during time where the sun is not shining that much. And that's something to get the profitability higher, and therefore a customer need is more valued, because the customer is saying, all right, I want to reduce energy prices. No, I don't want to buy a battery. I want to reduce energy prices. And we want to help the customer exactly with that standpoint and do everything besides it.
Yeah. So first thing, the product, right? Now you come to the installation and getting the product into the market and making it ready for operations to the customer.
Yeah.
And now we're coming to the, as you just scratched on it right now, to the operations optimization. And so can you explain this a little bit more in detail? Like, what are you optimizing there? Like, what is the software that you provide, the service? How's it accessible? Does the customer has still access to it? Does he need to do something by himself? Or are you taking it all by yourself and saying, like, no, we are like a one-stop solution, giving you the full service? Like, what are you offering there?
Yeah. So the last point, operation, is basically running on our energy management system. This one is delivered with each C&I and also grid scale battery. And the customer can just choose, or depending on the customer need, of course, which use cases and applications are running on this EMS. So basically what Roman said, the customer might have problems with charging infrastructure. So the grid connection might be too small for new AC chargers. So the use case that we run on the EMS then is to have a load shifting of the grid to the battery and then buffer it once cars are coming to do some high load charging. The other one could be dynamic tariffs. So if the customer has a dynamic tariff and the load profile of the customer is also good for it, you can use the battery for this one. So it's like kind of different service packages that are running automatically on the EMS, and the customer is just choosing which package to go. And we are actually, as Roman said, doing the whole analysis for the customer. So we in the end say, hey, look, if you go with this and this and this package, you can reduce your energy prices to this level.
Okay, gotcha. So I have two questions, because before we come to the final three questions that I ask every participant. But since you're such an innovative startup, I want to first understand the market right now. In Germany, I think this is your main market still. I assume that, but please correct me if not. I think there are two fronts right now. Those who are really going into the energy transition, and those who are kind of thinking like, will this play out, and will this really be the next big lever for our industry, but also then for saving CO2 and bringing us to a greener future. How do you see this transition right now from your perspective? Because you're talking to so many people, as I do, but I want to capture your perspective. Do you see that we are on a big shift in the market, or are you also dealing with a lot of naysayers?
I would say it totally depends on the people you're talking about. Most of the people, of course, we are connected to are mostly looking into the future and saying, all right, we need this energy transition. And personal meaning of myself is like in Germany we have 1.8% of CO2 worldwide from the CO2 emission of Germany. So it's not it shouldn't be our goal to just like reduce them from 1.80 to 0%, because when we reduce it, it's of course a small thing, but it's not the big thing what the world is looking for. What the world is looking for, reducing like more and more from China, from the USA. And our part of Germany is we have to reduce it in an economic way that other countries are looking at us and saying, all right, we do copy you guys.
Yeah.
And when the China is saying, all right, Germany is a good example, then they will copy us. But when they see, all right, the energy transition failed because of a lot of different reasons and it's economically a bad trip, then they say, all right, we do not copy. So our goal should be to do the energy transition, but do it on an economic way. And that means we have to do it on a lot of different ways. We have to look into the future and say, all right, we need the batteries, but at the right spots to the right prices. So we kind of get the all cost for the energy transition as low as possible. And that should be the part of Germany. And I'm 100% sure when we do so, then we also have a different positive thing, because when we really go forward with the energy transition, it will lead to problems, and that's for sure. For instance, we have negative energy prices right now. We need battery. That's a solution for that one. So we come to problems, we will solve them, and other industries will need these problems as well, and will have these problems, and will need the solutions. So we can provide the solutions for other countries in the future. For instance, like batteries, when we say, all right, we now have the right energy management system, which can go with dynamic tariffs. We have the problem, we solved the problem somehow. So other countries like Italy, like wherever you look for it, they will come to the problem. And this should be like the point of view that we will have a good economic relationship.
This is really great what you say there, Roman, because what you're talking about is this uptake of the ecosystem. Someone found a solution and then it kind of spreads around. Of course, we profit from that later on also, because this is economics and profit-based business. But having this ecosystem in Europe, and this is why I'm building the battery expedition right now, is to really make people understand, like, what did you build? Like, which competences do you have, which you then can also share with others in order to let this ecosystem flourish. So maybe from your perspective, the second question, from the entrepreneurial point of view, I mean, you have gone through so many phases and now the recent funding. What is your advice and your perspective on building innovation in Europe? Because I have talked to so many entrepreneurs also that say, like, yeah, we are still in Europe because we made this decision a couple of years ago. But to be fair, right now, we would not be here anymore if we would rethink this decision or would have the opportunity, because the support in the USA, but also in Asia, is much higher. So what do you say to those people?
I would say we still have a lot of infrastructure in Europe and a lot of opportunities, especially also on the market side, where we, as Roman said, see a really high potential to be the first in the market. As we saw it in the PV area, we were the first ones going into this market. Of course, then other markets copied, or also the production went out, but it brought us a lot of different problems and challenges that we can build up here. And I think the whole industry that we have here, the universities that we have here, are bringing so much knowledge into the country and into Europe that we just need to make the right use of it. And of course, if you look at funding opportunities, the European or especially German market is way going on a lower risk profile than maybe the US market. But still, I think if we just have the right movement and also work together as a European Union and have a straight political view and strategic plan on which technologies we want to build up in the future, then it's a really strong way, because the market is there, the people are there, and the mindset is also there to go into this direction.
Okay. So I think this segues perfectly over to the 3 key questions I ask every guest on this expedition. And the first one is the challenges that you see holding the European ecosystem back on really succeeding in the energy transition and battery game. What would you name if you should pinpoint it in a couple of bullets?
I would definitely say is funding, especially if you're building up in the hardware area or building up hardware startups. It's really hard to find funding for this kind of entrepreneurship. Second one would be definitely also regulations. So talking about batteries, if you want to build up a production, if you want to go to the customer side, a lot of regulations that, of course, also make sense.
We saw that in the factory. You said it, right? You will shift the whole production line later on because of regulatory requirements.
Yeah, so a lot of requirements that are, of course, important, but maybe especially, let's say, in the startup area on the first 2 or 3 years would need a high amount of effort to overpass them, or also a high amount of capital. So regulations would be the second. And third challenge.
I would totally go with these two as well. So especially when you're, it depends on the area where you're at with the capital, where the most of the capital in Germany, for instance, like Aachen, is not such a good place here. Here, very good ideas, a very good university, but when you look for funding, it's pretty hard to get funding here because we just do not have that much funding. But it's a generally speaking problem in Europe or in Germany, where you say, all right, the funding is just not high enough. And I would say, like, from the government and stuff like this, it could be the possibility that you also put a little bit of money into big funds where you kind of fund startups, where you fund capital, because that's something as well that we kind of, when you get the first and the second step, we need the grow capital as well for the future. And sometimes it's not working out. So you see Northvolt, for example, where it's not working out, but we have to keep going that way because there will be other companies where it will work out. So it's, I think, a mindset on that thing. And bureaucracy is always a thing which is hard. But
I heard that quite sometimes.
Yeah, but you come along with it. It needs more time and it takes more time. And it would be nicer if it would be a little bit less, but
let's frame this positively, because I think there's a reason why you're also building up your company in Aachen and scaling it now. What is the potential? What are the opportunities that Europe really offers?
Yeah, I think when you look in the future and see, all right, we are keep going with the energy transition, and we don't shift too much. Of course, when the society is saying, all right, we don't want to have so much shift right now, you cannot go that speed, because when you keep going that speed, you lose of kind of the society. But you have to keep pushing into that direction, and this one helps for every business model which is relying and which is focusing on the future and of the energy transition, like Voltfang. We need the PV systems because the PV systems is putting energy into the market, and it's leading to the challenge that we have low energy prices and high energy prices. So it leads to the volatility of the energy market. So we kind of are reliable on PV market and on the energy transition to have a business model. And I'm very, very positive that we keep pushing with the energy transition. So we will have we will need a lot of batteries into the future.
So for your business model, since the energy transition must come, you're saying like the battery business model will also be there necessarily.
Exactly.
Okay. In terms of building up this industry, do you see any special competences or the potential of this ecosystem as a lever? Or would you say, like, no, it's more hindering us? This is something I would be interested in knowing.
I think the ecosystem, or building up an ecosystem in a special technology area for Germany or also Europe, is really, really important. I mean, we see it in Aachen here. We call us the small battery valley. We just have another recycling company here on the ground, Scilib. We have Acure, which are working on the battery diagnostic sites, and we're cooperating with them. We have Saffion, we have Digatron, so many companies. And just being in this exchange with them, building solutions together, is really important. And I think it's, a strong ecosystem can give you an advantage on the market.
So let's come to the final question of this conversation, and that is your call to action. If you would give one advice to our industry or to other stakeholders out there, may also be politicians or investors, what would you give?
I really, it's always my answer to that question, because I'm really looking also at the politics, especially when you look at batteries, because I mean 70% roundabout of the battery price is the material price, is the whole cost of the battery, and just like 20-30% are production price. So what is the big advantage of China right now? They just control most of the sources of the materials, of lithium, of everything. But when you look deeply in there, then you see, I think they have around like 18% of the battery materials in-house, like in the country, but they control around 70-80% of all these materials.
True.
So it's not the thing that China has a good area where they can mine a lot of things. It's just a political point of view, whereas they said like 10 years ago, that's an industry where we want to have we want to succeed. So we want to have all the resources, and though they got all the resources, and this one was kind of the base for CATL, for BYD. To grow on these materials, and then to keep going their business right now. So even when we in Germany or we in Europe would be like 50% more expensive with the production, we would still be very, very competitive. But when we cannot control the resources, and that's a political thing, I think we have the Rohstoffamt in Germany or something like this. I'm not so familiar what they're doing on an everyday basis, but I'm pretty sure that they are not that focused like China and just see the outcome, and we don't have access to resources like that. So I would say like having like a little bit different shift on the politician, and looking a little bit more into the future and support the industry on key industries like the battery industry, like the PV industry, and some other industries.
Yeah. Especially maybe just adding on this, 100% agree and can sign on it. And I mean, we have this 4-year view, of course, of how you do politics on the democracy level. And this, like, even within the 4 years, you sometimes have shifts, and we really feel it also on our customer markets, or customers, for example. Now we had the discussion about stabilizing industry prices. Of course, then first of all, they're asking, okay, do I actually need a battery storage system? If there's a limit, how high is the limit? When do they decide it? And then this not strategic plan or not clear communication of the politics are actually, making the market nervous and the customers nervous and everybody.
The market.
It's not even having good or bad decision. It's an unstable decision, because like you said, when Mert was saying like, all right, maybe we cut the energy prices, we felt it in our C&I sales numbers that a lot of people said, all right, we just push it. Then you have to do it, or you don't have to do it, or whatever, but we need the decision, and we need to stabilize everything. So then we know, all right, how we can handle that one, and how we can tackle these challenges. But when you just don't know, it's kind of hard to tackle this challenge.
I mean, it's a key parameter of a business model to work on and to find a solution. And if you don't know it, or you change it every couple of years, then
I
it's hard to
totally
build up
understand
a stable business model.
And that is also because this is kind of the 3-part fold collaboration that we need: industry, politics, and investors, I think, and of course the society in general, that have to support and that have to walk in one direction, right? And funny enough, this is why I'm right now, like after we are finished, I head to Berlin, right, to also start the conversations with the political side. To raise the awareness of the competence that we have from the industrial side, but also taking their competence and bringing these together. We'll see where this journey leads, but maybe like a final question, like general outlook. Are you positively looking into the future for the European ecosystem?
Generally speaking, I would say yes. I mean, from the Voltfang perspective, I mean, we just signed the biggest deal of 250 million we ever made. So from our side, everything is running phenomenal. And in the general speaking, I mean, we just have to go 500 meters here to RWTH Aachen, where we see like a lot of good people coming out of the university. I mean, we are like in the ecosystem here, where I think one of the most positive and good working ecosystems for batteries. So I think it's going to be good in the next years.
Okay.
Definitely. I mean, if you ask entrepreneurs if they're positive about the future, then
of course.
I hope you get 100% yes.
So from you, I definitely got that, and I'm looking forward to see what's coming. I think Voltfang is on a really nice track I'd like to follow up on. So thank you both of you for the conversation, and keep up the good work.
Yeah, thank you. You too.